Welcome to your personalized deep dive. I know you're prepping for those front-end developer interviews coming up in 2025.
Smart move getting a head start.
You bet. And you're smart enough to send over this awesome guide, 2025 Front-End Developer Interview Questions and Answers. So we're going to use it to really unpack what matters most to hiring managers these days.
Yeah, it's chock full of insights. Let's dive in and decode it all.
Perfect. So one of the things that really jumps out right away from this guide is this emphasis on technical proficiency.
Oh, for sure.
It seems like in 2025, it's not enough to just know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
Right.
You really need to understand them like inside and out, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The basics, they're still crucial, of course, but hiring managers are really looking for developers who can demonstrate a deeper understanding. They want to see that you can not only just write the code, but you understand the why behind the choices that you're making.
So it's like, not just, can you do it, but do you know why you're doing it? Interesting. So what kind of questions then should someone be prepared for in this area?
Well, this guide mentions that live coding challenges are becoming more and more common.
Oh boy.
So brushing up on your data structures and algorithms is going to be essential. Things like binary trees,
Okay.
sorting algorithms,
Got it.
and even, dynamic programming concepts. These are all fair game these days.
Okay, so that sounds pretty intense, to be honest.
It can be.
Any advice on how to sort of, I don't know, handle that pressure of coding on the spot?
Practice is key.
Obvious.
But beyond that, I think it's really about demonstrating your problem-solving skills.
Okay.
So think out loud as you're going to
Right.
explain your reasoning.
Got it.
And don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions if you need to, even if your code isn't absolutely perfect. Showing that you can think critically, you can approach a problem systematically. That's incredibly valuable.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so another thing that this guide highlights is performance optimization. And it seems like page speed is more important than ever in 2025.
Absolutely. Users have zero patience for slow websites. So understanding how to optimize your front-end code is just absolutely critical.
The guide mentions some techniques like minifying code and optimizing images. But could you maybe break those down a little bit further? Like, what are some of the key things that, a developer really needs to know in this area?
Sure. Well, let's start with image optimization.
Yeah.
It's not just about making images smaller,
Right.
It's about finding that right balance between file size and maintaining the quality.
Right.
So techniques like using WebP format,
Okay.
lazy loading images, and even using image CDNs can have a huge impact on your page speed.
I've heard of CDNs,
Yeah.
but could you explain maybe what those are and why they're so important for this?
Yeah, of course. So a CDN, it stands for Content Delivery Network,
Okay.
and it's basically a network of servers that are distributed all around the world. And they can serve up static assets like your images, CSS files, JavaScript files from a location that's closer to the user. So this reduces latency.
Got it.
And it ultimately improves loading times, especially for those users who are far away from your main server.
So it's about getting the content to the person as quickly as possible wherever they are.
Exactly.
Interesting. So it's not just about the code itself. It's about understanding how to use all these tools and services to get the best performance.
Exactly.
Okay. The guide also mentions something called critical rendering path. What is that and why is it important?
Yeah, it's basically the sequence of steps that the browser takes to render the content
Okay.
that is immediately visible to the user.
Got it.
So optimizing this path means prioritizing the loading of resources that are crucial for that initial view, and then deferring the loading of things that aren't as critical.
So you're saying it's not just about making the entire page load fast, but the most important part's loading fast first.
You got it. And this shows a deeper understanding of front-end performance optimization,
Right.
which is something that hiring managers are definitely going to be looking for.
Okay, all this talk about performance optimization is making me a little anxious.
I can understand that.
It seems like there's just so much to know.
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming, but remember, I think the key is to demonstrate that you're willing to learn
Okay.
and you have a passion for building these high-performing websites.
Right.
So just show them that you're aware of these concepts
Yeah.
and you're actively working to improve your skills in this area.
Got it.
And that'll go a long way.
This guide also spends a good chunk of time on design and UX.
Oh yeah, very important.
Why is that so important for front-end developers, and what are some of the key concepts they need to be aware of?
Well, in 2025, it's not enough to just build a website that functions.
Yeah.
It needs to be beautiful,
Right.
intuitive, and engaging.
Sure.
Front-end developers are expected now to have a strong understanding of design principles. and user experience best practices.
So they need to be able to think like a designer,
Yeah.
even if they're not one themselves.
Exactly. This means understanding things like visual hierarchy,
Okay.
typography, color theory, and information architecture.
Hmm.
They need to be able to look at a design mock-up
Yeah.
and not only translate it into code, but also understand the why behind those design choices.
So it sounds like the role of a front-end developer is becoming more and more holistic.
It absolutely is. And this is where, the concept of accessibility comes into play.
Right.
A truly great front-end developer in 2025 understands that building accessible websites is not just a nice to have.
Right.
It is essential.
We've touched on accessibility a few times now.
Yeah.
Can you explain what it is and why it's so important?
Absolutely. So accessibility means designing and developing websites that are usable by people with a wide range of disabilities. This could include visual, auditory, motor, and even cognitive impairments. So this could involve things like providing alternative text for your images,
Okay.
ensuring that there's sufficient color contrast,
Right.
using semantic HTML, and even building keyboard navigable interfaces.
So it's about making the web inclusive for everyone,
Yes.
regardless of their abilities.
Precisely.
Okay. And the guide mentions WCAG,
Right?
or the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines.
Yeah.
What are those, and why should developers be familiar with them?
So the WCAG, they're essentially a set of internationally recognized standards for web accessibility.
Okay.
They provide a framework for building websites that are perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust for users with disabilities.
So they're like the rulebook for building accessible websites.
You could say that, yeah.
Yeah.
And becoming familiar with those guidelines can really help developers ensure that their websites are inclusive
Right.
and that they meet any legal requirements as well.
So it's not just good practice.
Right.
It's potentially like a legal requirement as well.
In some cases, yes.
Okay, so we've covered technical proficiency, performance optimization in design and UX, all with this emphasis on accessibility.
Very important.
What other key areas does this guide highlight as being important for front-end developer interviews in 2025?
Well, one area that often trips people up is problem solving and algorithms. While, not every single front-end role requires really deep algorithmic knowledge,
Right.
being able to demonstrate logical thinking and problem-solving skills is just crucial.
So what kinds of questions might they ask in this area?
It could range from simple coding challenges to more complex algorithmic problems.
Okay.
They might ask you to, let's say, implement a sorting algorithm
Okay.
or manipulate data structures like arrays and linked lists,
Got it.
or even solve a classic dynamic programming problem.
Right.
It really just depends.
Do you have any tips for someone who might not be like a coding whiz,
Sure.
but still wants to impress in this area?
I think the key here is to just demonstrate your thought process as you're going. So explain your approach. Break the problem down into smaller steps. And don't be afraid to ask those clarifying questions. Even if you don't arrive at the absolute most optimal solution, showing that you can think critically and communicate effectively is still really valuable.
That makes sense. Okay, I'm starting to get the sense that 2025 front-end developers need to be very well-rounded individuals
Sure.
with a wide range of skills.
It's not just about writing code anymore. It's about understanding the entire web development ecosystem, from design and user experience to performance optimization, accessibility.
Got it.
And of course, being able to communicate effectively and work collaboratively with a team is just essential.
Speaking of working with a team, the guide also mentions version control systems, and specifically Git.
Oh, yeah, I can't forget that.
Why is that so important, and what should someone be prepared to talk about in an interview in regards to that?
Well, Git is essential for collaborating on code with other developers. It allows teams to track changes, work on features simultaneously, and merge code seamlessly.
Got it.
So you'll want to demonstrate that you understand basic Git commands, branching strategies, and, how to resolve merge conflicts.
Right, that's important.
Definitely.
Any other advice for kind of showcasing that Git expertise in an interview?
I would say talk about your workflow.
Yeah.
And any experience that you have with pull requests, that can really impress interviewers. And mentioning things like best practices, like writing clear commit messages.
Right.
And providing constructive feedback during code reviews.
Got it.
That can also demonstrate your collaborative approach to development.
This has been incredibly helpful. We've covered a lot of ground, but I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of this
I
guide.
know, right? There's so much good stuff in here.
What else should we explore to help our listener feel fully prepared for their upcoming interviews?
Well, there's a whole section on choosing the right front-end framework and understanding testing methodologies.
Okay.
And of course, we need to dive into the art of asking insightful questions during an interview.
Right. Very important.
It's a two-way street, after all.
Absolutely.
But I think those are topics for our next deep dive.
Great idea. I'll see you in part 2.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
I'm excited to jump into this next section of the guide.
Me too.
You know, we've talked a lot about the technical side of things,
Right.
but now let's kind of shift gears a little bit
Yeah.
and talk about something that I think can really set you apart in an interview.
Absolutely.
And that's asking insightful questions.
Oh, yeah. Showing genuine curiosity and engaging in that back and forth can really make a lasting impression.
Yeah, and this guide actually has a whole section on questions that you should be asking.
It does.
And some of them are pretty clever.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people kind of scumble at this stage in the interview.
Yeah, they get nervous.
Yeah, but you're saying it's actually a chance to shine.
Absolutely, yeah. It's an opportunity to gather information, of course.
Right.
But it also demonstrates, your critical thinking skills and your genuine interest in the role in the company.
Right. It shows you're not just looking for any job, you're looking for the right job.
Exactly.
Okay, so what's the first killer question we should have in our arsenal?
Well, the guide suggests asking about the company's specific approach to accessibility.
Okay.
Something like, how does the company prioritize accessibility in its development process? Are there specific tools or workflows in place to ensure that all products are inclusive?
So it goes beyond just asking, do you care about accessibility?
Right.
It's digging into the specifics of how they actually implement it.
Exactly. And it shows that you're not just paying lip service to the concept.
Right.
You're genuinely interested in how they actually, walk the walk.
Yeah, I like that. It also opens up the conversation for them to talk about their values and their commitment to building those inclusive products.
Good point.
Okay, so now another question that I think can really spark some meaningful discussion is, what are some of the biggest front-end challenges that the team is currently facing? And how are you approaching them?
Oh, that's a good one. It shows that you're not afraid of a challenge.
Yeah.
And that you're interested in learning from their experiences.
Right, and it gives you insight into their current priorities.
Right, absolutely.
And how they handle obstacles.
Yeah.
Are they struggling with performance issues, browser compatibility, legacy code? I mean, their answer can reveal a lot, I think, about their technical landscape.
Right.
And their approach to problem solving.
For sure.
Okay, so we've got questions about accessibility and challenges. What else should we be asking?
The guide suggests asking about the company's tech stack and how they choose which technologies to use. You could say something like, can you tell me more about the company's current tech stack and the reasoning behind those choices? Are there opportunities to experiment with new technologies or contribute to open source projects?
That's smart. So it shows that you're not just interested in learning what they use, but why they use it.
Right.
And how they stay on top of that, ever-evolving tech landscape.
Exactly. Plus, it kind of subtly hints that you're adaptable
Yes.
and willing to learn new things.
Yeah.
Which is always a plus in a fast-paced field like front-end development.
It also gives you a sense of whether or not they're open to trying new things
Yeah,
and pushing the boundaries, or if they're more comfortable just sticking with what they know.
that's a great observation.
Okay. Now, another question that can really demonstrate your forward-thinking mindset, I think, is how does the company approach continuous integration and deployment? Are there opportunities for front-end developers to contribute to the DevOps process?
Ah, DevOps.
Yeah,
That's a hot topic these days.
it is. Why is it important, though, for a front-end developer to understand this?
Well, in today's world, development and operations are becoming increasingly intertwined.
Right.
So front-end developers who understand CI/CD pipelines and can contribute to those automation efforts,
Right.
they're highly valuable.
Okay.
It shows that they're thinking beyond just writing code
Right.
and that they're considering that entire software development lifecycle.
So asking about DevOps shows you're not just a code monkey.
Right.
You're a strategic thinker.
Yeah.
Who's interested in streamlining processes and improving efficiency.
Exactly. And it demonstrates that willingness to collaborate with other teams and contribute to that overall success of the company.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here.
What's that?
All of these questions are about going beyond the surface level
Right.
and really demonstrating your understanding of the bigger picture.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's about showing them that you're not just looking for a job. You're looking for a place to learn and grow.
Yeah, and make a meaningful contribution.
Exactly.
Now, I know some people get nervous about asking questions in an interview.
I get it.
They don't want to come across as demanding or critical or anything like that.
No.
Any advice on how to strike the right tone when you're asking these questions?
Yeah, I think it's all about framing your questions in a positive and curious way.
Okay.
So instead of sounding like you're interrogating them,
Right.
approach it as an opportunity to learn more about their culture,
Hmm.
their processes, their vision.
Okay, so it's a conversation.
It is.
It's not an interrogation.
Exactly. And don't forget to listen attentively to their answers and engage in that genuine conversation.
It's about building rapport, I think.
Absolutely.
Demonstrating your interest in the company.
For sure.
Okay, so we've covered some excellent questions, I think, to ask about accessibility, challenges, tech stack, DevOps, and even the company's overall vision.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that we should be sure to touch on before we move on to the next section of this guide?
Well, there's one more question that I think is particularly important, especially in a fast-paced field like front-end development.
Okay, what's that?
And that is, what are the opportunities for professional development and career growth within the company? Are there programs for mentorship, continuing education, or attending industry conferences?
Ah, yes, the classic "what's in it for me" question.
Right, but it's important to know if the company is invested in its employees' growth.
For sure.
You want to work for a company that supports your professional development
Right.
and helps you stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. It also shows that you're thinking long term,
Right.
that you're looking for a place where you can build a career,
Yeah.
not just have a job.
Exactly. And it gives you a sense of their culture and their values.
Mm.
Do they prioritize employee growth?
Right.
Do they encourage innovation and exploration?
Okay.
Their answer can reveal a lot about their overall philosophy.
This has been incredibly insightful.
Glad to hear it.
I feel like I have a whole new arsenal of questions to ask in my next interview.
Awesome.
But what about the other side of the coin? What are some red flags to watch out for in their answers? What should send up warning signals?
That's a great question, and it leads perfectly into the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore what truly makes a top-notch front-end developer candidate stand out
All right.
and how to read between the lines during that interview process.
Perfect. I will see you in part 3.
See you then.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive. We've covered so much ground already, from technical skills to those insightful questions to ask during your interview.
Yeah, it's been a great discussion.
It has. But now I'm really curious.
Yeah.
What sets a truly exceptional front-end developer candidate apart in 2025? What makes someone really stand out from the crowd?
That's a fantastic question.
Yeah,
And it really goes beyond simply checking off boxes on a list of technical skills.
you're right.
While, proficiency in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is a given, along with a solid grasp of popular frameworks and libraries,
Right.
what truly distinguishes a standout candidate is their ability to kind of weave those skills together
Okay.
with a passion for crafting exceptional user experiences.
So it's not just about being a code ninja, it's about having a bit of an artistic side as well.
Precisely. Think of the best front-end developers as, digital artisans. They possess a deep understanding of design principles, visual aesthetics, and intuitive user flows.
Okay.
They can take a raw concept or a static design mock-up and transform it into a dynamic, engaging, and user-friendly experience.
I'm starting to see a theme emerge here. It's about understanding the why behind the code, the design, and the overall user experience.
You're spot on. And this leads us to a crucial quality that, hiring managers are increasingly seeking.
Okay.
And that's a strong design sensibility.
Design sensibility, okay.
It's about having this intuitive grasp of what looks good, what feels right, and guides the user seamlessly through their interaction with the website or application.
So they're not just translating designs into code.
Right.
They're actively thinking about how to enhance that user experience at every step of the way.
Exactly. They're considering aspects like visual hierarchy, typography, color palettes, and the overall flow of information.
Right.
They're thinking about accessibility, ensuring that everyone, regardless of ability, can access and enjoy the content.
Accessibility seems to be a recurring theme throughout this entire deep dive.
It is.
Would you say it's moved beyond being just a nice to have and become a must have for front-end developers in 2025?
Absolutely. And this guide really reinforces that notion.
Okay.
Top-tier candidates not only understand the principles of accessibility,
Right.
but they actively champion its implementation. They recognize that building inclusive web experiences is not just an ethical imperative.
Right.
It's also a really smart business decision.
Okay.
It broadens their audience reach and fosters a more positive brand image.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do, and it's good for business.
It's exactly.
Okay, so it sounds like we're moving towards a more, holistic and empathetic approach to front-end development.
Yeah, I think so.
Where those technical skills are balanced with a genuine concern for user well-being and inclusivity.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay.
And this ties into another quality that distinguishes these exceptional candidates.
Okay.
Their passion for performance optimization.
Performance optimization, got it.
They're obsessed with creating websites and applications that are blazing fast,
Right.
efficient, and responsive. They understand that every millisecond counts in today's digital landscape,
Right.
where users have little patience for delays or clunky interactions.
So it's not enough to just build a website that works.
Right.
It needs to work flawlessly.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
These developers, they're constantly striving to optimize their code,
Right.
reduce those loading times,
Yeah.
and deliver a seamless and enjoyable experience across all devices.
Makes sense.
They're diving deep into techniques like image optimization, code minification,
Right.
caching strategies, and leveraging the power of CDNs
Okay.
to ensure that their creations are lightning fast and buttery smooth.
It sounds like they need to be part developer, part magician, squeezing every ounce of performance out of their code.
Perhaps a bit of both. And this attention to detail extends to their mastery of responsive and adaptive design.
Responsive and adaptive design. Okay.
They understand that users are accessing the web from a myriad of devices,
Of course, yeah.
from tiny smartwatches to massive desktop screens.
Right.
And their creations need to adapt gracefully to each context.
So it's not enough to just build a website that looks good on your laptop.
Right.
It needs to look good everywhere.
Exactly.
Got it.
These developers, they're fluent in responsive design techniques,
Okay.
leveraging things like media queries, flexible grids, and viewport management
Right.
to ensure that their layouts flow seamlessly across every screen size, and they're even thinking ahead to the future of web interactions.
Wow, that's impressive.
Considering how their creations might adapt to emerging technologies like augmented reality or voice interfaces.
Okay, so it sounds like the role of a front-end developer is becoming increasingly complex and demanding, requiring not just the technical expertise, but also a deep understanding of user behavior,
Right.
accessibility,
Yeah.
and this evolving digital landscape.
It's a lot to keep up with.
It is. Are we expecting too much from front-end developers in 2025?
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
But, the reality is that the web development landscape is constantly evolving.
Right.
And the role of a front-end developer is naturally expanding alongside it.
Of course.
However, it's important to remember that no one is expecting a single individual to be a master of every single aspect.
Right.
What truly sets outstanding candidates apart is their willingness to collaborate and communicate effectively.
So it's not just about individual brilliance.
No.
It's about being a team player.
Precisely. The best front-end developers are excellent communicators, able to articulate their ideas clearly, listen attentively to feedback, and work seamlessly with designers, product managers, and other stakeholders.
Makes sense.
They understand that building great web experiences is a collaborative effort,
Right.
and they thrive in those environments where open communication and shared knowledge are valued.
This makes a lot of sense. You can have the most brilliant code in the world, but if you can't explain it to your team or incorporate feedback from others, it's not going to be very effective.
Yeah, exactly. And this collaborative spirit extends to their understanding of SEO best practices.
SEO best practices.
Okay. Well, SEO might traditionally be seen as a marketing domain.
Right.
Savvy front-end developers recognize that their code and design choices can have a significant impact
Okay.
on a website's search engine visibility.
So they're thinking beyond just the visual and functional aspects of the website. They're considering how it will perform in the wider online ecosystem.
Absolutely. They're incorporating SEO principles into their workflow.
Got it.
Ensuring that their code is Clean, semantic, and structured in a way that search engines can easily understand.
Okay.
They're optimizing images, writing those meaningful meta descriptions,
Right.
and thinking strategically about how their work can contribute to a website's overall searchability and discoverability.
Wow. It sounds like front-end developers in 2025
Hmm.
need to be incredibly well-rounded individuals,
They do.
blending this technical expertise with design sensibility,
Yeah.
communication skills, and even a dash of marketing savvy.
You've summed it up perfectly.
It's a lot,
It is.
but it sounds rewarding.
It is incredibly rewarding for those who are passionate about creating innovative and user-centric web experiences.
Hmm.
And remember, even if you don't possess every single skill on this list,
Right.
the key is to demonstrate a willingness to learn,
Okay.
a collaborative spirit,
Right.
and a genuine passion for the craft.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive.
I'm glad you think so.
I feel like we've equipped our listener with a really comprehensive understanding of the skills,
Yeah.
qualities, and even the mindset that hiring managers are looking for in a top-notch front-end developer candidate.
Absolutely.
Any final words of wisdom before we wrap things up?
Remember, an interview is not just a test of your technical skills.
Okay.
It's an opportunity to showcase your passion, your curiosity, and
Mm.
your unique perspective.
Yeah?
Embrace the challenge.
Yeah.
Be yourself and let your enthusiasm shine through.
Great advice.
And most importantly, never stop learning and exploring the ever-evolving world of front-end development.
So true. And good luck with your interviews.
Best of luck.
I think we've given our listener a lot to think about today.
We have.
They're armed with the knowledge about the questions to expect,
Yeah,
the questions to ask,
right.
and those qualities that make a front-end developer truly shine in 2025.
And hopefully they're feeling a bit more confident and prepared to tackle those interviews head on.
Now, here's one final thought to ponder as you continue your prep. We've talked a lot about technical skills,
All right.
but what about the human side of front-end development?
Interesting.
Empathy, curiosity, a genuine desire to make the web a better place for everyone.
Yeah,
Do you think those qualities are becoming even more important in 2025?
that's a fascinating question and one that deserves further exploration.
It is.
Perhaps it's a topic for our next deep dive.
I like it. Until then, happy coding.
Happy coding, everyone!